Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Kishan. Good morning, Hidden. Good morning, BNB. I hope you're all doing incredibly well. Good morning, everybody. Look how tall I am there. There we go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. It is February the 20th. It is 11 a.m. Central European Time. We are streaming twice today. I'll show you both of those streams in a minute. We're going to stream our daily show, which is now, and then we're going to do a World Liberty financial stream in 3 hours' time. I've already told the people on Binance about that. So 2 streams today. On top of that, 2 videos today. We're going to drop 2 videos as well. So it's been a little bit of a busy day so far because we've been up since 6:30 this morning to get everything prepared for the day. And we are going to go through this today, hopefully in an hour. We're going to talk about the Ethereum roadmap. We're going to talk about SUI. I've got massive problems with the treasuries that are being set up on SUI. We're going to talk about Solana. We're going to talk about Raoul Pal. We're going to talk about Deutsche Bank. We're going to talk about Nillion, which is a project that's moving chains. And then we're going to talk about Hype. So it's a busy-ish day. We don't really have Bitcoin news, which is good because we always talk about Bitcoin. And that's what we're going to go through today. And on top of that, we're going to look at some X-Files. We're going to look at the prices in the markets. The usual relaxed Friday show. No charts today on this stream. The charts will come later when we talk about World Liberty Financial. And that's pretty much it. And then one other thing, Packer, if you are watching, can you let me know if this volume is louder? I've turned it up by 50%. I found a little knob to turn within the streaming software that's put it from 100% to 150%. If you can let me know if we are louder, I would greatly appreciate it. Now then, let's go and have a look at the markets. What is crypto doing? Bitcoin, 68,200 American debasing dollars. Pretty decent. Looks like Ethereum may want to get back above $2,000 today. XRP back at 142. It's like Groundhog Day. Solana, $84. Now, the thing with Solana was, I did say I would buy Solana below $80. I think it wicked to $78 yesterday, and I missed it. I didn't get in, but I'll be buying about $74 or $75 on Solana. I don't think we've missed the boat on that. I think we could come a lot lower. I'll talk about that in a minute. We've got Tron coming in under 30 cents. Cardano still under 30 cents. That's a long way from home. Looks like it's going to break below $10 billion. Incredible. Hype is just under $30. Again, $22, $24 for Hype, I think is an amazing price if you can get it. I think that's an amazing price if you can get it. Monero is up just a touch. It's still over $330. Chainlink is $8.70. Honestly, tokens are not the same as projects. I talk about this all the time. That's the biggest criminal price of everything in crypto right now. If you think $68,000 is bad for Bitcoin, an $8.70 Chainlink is absolutely criminal, okay? You should all be arrested. Others making up the top, we've got Canton and we've got Stellar. Gainers and losers then. Let's have a quick look. Kite is up. Lots of people talking about that being scam or pump and dump, whatever it might be. Hey, I don't know. Morpho have just signed a deal with another company in investment, so they're going to be pumping for a little bit. Midnight is on the march back up. I have a bag of Midnight. It got airdropped to me. I've no idea where it came from. I have it. I have it staked, earning 20% on one of the exchanges. Great fun. Trump is up. Stable is there. AVAX is there. Virtuals, Render, Monero. SUI is 95 cents. I can't wait to talk about SUI. I can't wait to talk about it. Listen, I'm a big fan, but I'm also a big fan of common sense. And we're going to talk about that in a bit. And even Solana is the 12th biggest pumper of the day. Losers, Arbitrum is down. I remember Arbitrum being at 75 cents or $1. Are we really down to a sub 10 cent Arbitrum? I remember talking to Tariq about this a year. Arbitrum, we used to talk about Arbitrum above $1, above 75 cents. I don't know why it is so low right now. It's absolutely appalling. Anyway, other losers: Pi is down, Dash is down, Sky is down, Toncoin lighter. Again, a little bit of a mixed bag. Market cap 2.33 trillion. It's edging ever lower. We're probably likely to break, I'd say, to 1.9 trillion if Bitcoin goes to where I think it's going to go to. I think maybe 1.8 trillion. I think. Again, one of the things I want to talk about very briefly before we start the show. There's a lot of people who are talking about a $29,000 Bitcoin, $28,000 Bitcoin. I don't understand how anyone can imagine that we are going to go that low. We've got diminishing returns all over the place. Diminishing returns on highs. We're going to have diminishing returns on lows. I've made video upon video upon video about this. We've looked at the numbers. We've looked at the drawdowns over the last 4 bull runs and last 4 bear markets. The last drawdown was 77%. But it was a drawdown from $69,000. We're now going to draw down from $126,000. It's not going to be a 77% correction to the downside simply because we didn't get a 77% correction to the downside the cycle before. It was more. I think it was like 83 or 84%. So the likelihood is that we are going to come down to somewhere in the region of $49,000 to $55,000. Probably around that range, okay? I don't even know if we're going to go that low because we didn't really have euphoria. So, again, be very careful with people who are listening on both sides. People who are telling you this is the bottom. We've never bottomed in a February of a bear market in the history of Bitcoins. We're not likely to do it today either. Also, don't listen to the people telling you that it's going to drag on for another 2 years and we're going to $29,000. Those outliers are extreme approaches. We sit in the middle, stick to the October, November bottom, 1 year after the all-time high, and maybe 55. The Oracle, I think, has got 55, and I've got 50. So I think, work out from that what you will. Maybe we're both too pessimistic. Maybe we are going to bottom at 60. Maybe we did. Maybe we've already bottomed. Who knows? But anyway, let's move on a little bit. So that's what is coming out of the prices. I'm happy at 68,250. We've gone up a little bit since we started streaming. Can't say fairer than that. Good morning, Danny. Good morning, Bullish Bull. Froggy has said, I can't believe you can get 100 link for a bit over 600 quid. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's a minimum in this market of a $15 coin. It does everything. It's probably the most solid project that we have in crypto right now. Okay, sorry, I've got something in my eye. It's probably the most solid, most complete project we've got in crypto. Maybe Hype's up there as well and a few others, but come on. We're talking about Chainlink here. Unbelievable. The White House has set March the 1st deadline to resolve the stablecoin reward dispute and advance the Clarity Act per Fox Business. This is just going to keep dragging on and on and on. The long and short of it is, banks do not want you to receive 4% interest on your cash. Long and short of it. They don't mind it being wrapped up in a product so that they can charge fees on, but they don't want that. Number one. Number two, they think there's going to be a bank run because people are going to take hundreds of millions of dollars out of banks and put them into some of these other products that exchanges that I'm not going to mention list. So why earn 0.25% with Chase when you can earn 4% in stablecoins? So this is the argument, and it's going to go on. And at the end of the day, the question should be, what is the best solution for you? What's the best solution for retail? That should be the solution. Not getting trades involved to say we must protect the banking instrument. Why are you protecting the banking industry? You should be protecting the individual. The individual should come first. Crazy. Now, one other thing for those of you that are on Binance Square, there was a competition running, a Season 1 competition, where they were giving away 235 million WLFI tokens if you held USD1. Now, they've extended this from the 20th, which is today, until March the 20th, so for the next month. The details are down here. Simply hold USD1 and share WLFI. It's that simple. So again, if you have got USD1, that's all you've got to do. Just hold it in your wallet and you'll get WLFI tokens. Now, I haven't got any from this airdrop. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I've not had a single one airdrop to me yet. So I need to go and check that out. Another one, Binance's stablecoin reserves have gone past 45 billion. They now hold 65% of all stablecoins on centralized exchanges. Remember, centralized exchanges, they haven't got 65% of all stablecoins. The majority of stablecoins are on Ethereum. That's where all the liquidity is. That's where all the action is. That's where the parties are. We're talking about centralized exchanges. 2/3 of stablecoins are on Binance. What does that mean? It means Binance has the most liquidity of all the centralized exchanges. The Federal Reserve has just injected 18.5 billion into the US banking system through overnight repos. This is the 4th largest liquidity injection since COVID. I don't know why, but I always think, you know, $8, $9, $10 billion being injected into the US banking system. I always think that's peanuts. And it doesn't seem like a lot of money to me. But being the 4th largest injection since COVID probably means it is quite a big deal. And again, they're just putting liquidity in one way, shape or form into the market. But we've covered all of this kind of thing before. It's just one element of everything that's hopefully going to push Bitcoin higher towards the end of the year. Now then, Brad tried to get the Bitcoin strategic reserve turned into a crypto strategic reserve and failed. So Brad attempt number 2 is this. Ripple's banner year and accelerating momentum as we start 2026. He is now actively seeing boards and CEOs pushing their CFOs, chief financial officers, and treasurers to understand how they can leverage and benefit from stablecoins. So Braddy Boy, who couldn't get XRP and Ripple into the Bitcoin strategic reserve via the crypto strategic reserve, has now got attempt number 2, which is basically to promote stablecoins, because stablecoins, not all of them, but they will use Ripple's XRPL. They'll use Ripple for payments. So he's trying attempt number 2. And of course, Ripple has its own stablecoin as well. So, you know, you got to love the guy. You got to love the guy. And just to kind of show you this from DeFi Llama, I wanted to see how stablecoins were looking, given that Braddy Boy is on the case. Is this going to kick it out again? Oh, thank the Lord for that. Right, so stablecoin market is $300 billion. It really isn't that big right now. When you hear, you know, Besant and Trump and people talking about, and Trump Jr. talking about the stablecoin market becoming a $3 trillion business, we're at 300 billion. We're probably going to watch this stream back in 2 years' time and laugh that we're sitting here saying, oh, 307 billion. But that's where we are. Now, what's interesting down here, we kind of covered a little bit about PayPal the other week, saying PayPal's doing okay. But this is the growth of the different stable coins over the last 30 days. And what I kind of want to draw your attention to is there are a few stable coins which are surging. One is World Liberty Financial, which is up 51% in a month. And the other down here is BlackRock's USD, BUIDL, I don't know how you pronounce that, which is up 38.6%. But interestingly enough, if you look at Circle and you look at Tether, they're actually down a fraction. So I don't think this is money leaving crypto. I don't think this is a vast amount of money leaving. I think this is actually money rotating into different stable coins. Maybe Ripple, maybe World Liberty Financial are rotating into their own stable coins. Yes, maybe people are doing it because of the offers. But again, it's stable coins. I mean, how many of these things do we need, really? I mean, how many of these stable coins should exist? We just keep going. This is just all stable coins. I mean, how many do we need? We don't. We're probably going to end up what I would believe maybe 15 to 25 really solid multi-billion pound stable coins, I think, is where we're going to end up. But again, it's big business because they invest in US debt, which pays interest. They pay you very little. They make a lot of money out of it. But again, it's just worthy of a note of mentioning that I think stable coins right now are still very, very small business. 300 billion is nothing. I think when we're talking about 3 or 4 trillion, that's when we can get serious. Now then, for those of you that haven't watched in a while, I was quite critical of Vitalik probably a year or two ago. Lost his direction, didn't know what he was talking about really as far as where everything was going. People were baying for blood. He's got a new CEO in place. And ever since then, everything's fallen into line, in my opinion, for Ethereum. And they've become a really well-directed blockchain. I mean, they're the biggest outside of Bitcoin, yes. But I think they were losing their way. I think they've found their way, and they're now forging forward with it. A lot of Vitalik's views I don't necessarily agree with, but it doesn't really matter. We've got more in common than we disagree, if you know what I mean. So they've set out their 2026 roadmap with 3 core tracks. The Ethereum Foundation has unveiled a 2026 protocol priority list. After a productive 2025, they're going to focus on 3 things: scale, improving the user experience, and harden the layer 1. Now, big thing that came out a few weeks ago was when Vitalik said we don't need layer 2s anymore. Layer 2s have been crushed. Optimism, Arbitrum is down. Polygon's actually had a bit of a revival, but I have a funny feeling that Polygon is going to become its own layer 1. At some point in the future, Polygon will not be a layer 2 of Ethereum. I think it's going to be a standalone layer 1. Just my opinion. And the move here is to basically keep pushing forward with Ethereum. Remember, BlackRock are probably going to build their stock exchange on Ethereum. So Ethereum is going to get a BlackRock stock exchange. That's going to be absolutely massive, because once BlackRock do it, maybe other people will start to do it as well. Maybe you look at different exchanges from around the world doing it. And if it can prove it works, it's going to be used by everybody. Now, the Pectra upgrade went live in May last year, and it allowed for various different changes. There was a lot of new standards were introduced. There was a lot of new functionality for your wallets, for your hot wallets was introduced, and it was a pretty good improvement, but it was only like one of the steps that needed to be taken. So in December, Fusaka brought PeerDAS to mainnet. Validators began sampling blob data instead of downloading it in full. During the same period, the community steadily raised Ethereum's gas limit from 30 to 60 million. That's the first upgrade in 5 years. History expiry removed pre-merge data from full nodes. Again, getting rid of its history. Great news. Reducing storage requirements by hundreds of gigabytes. Meanwhile, the UX progress continued with the Open Intents framework and new interoperability standards. So, I'm not going to go through each of these. It's not that important. But you have to understand, the most important thing here is they are focused. Ethereum is focused, and that is exactly what we want. What we don't want is Solana or Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain to fail. Okay, these are the flagship layer 1s. Bitcoin is clearly in a different realm, so we're talking about alts. We don't want any of those 3 to fail. So scale, they're going to focus on scale. Improving the UI, they're going to look at interoperability. They're going to look at creating a better user experience for you, which is the most important thing. And then finally, they're going to harden the layer 1, advancing the $1 trillion security initiative, whatever that might be, post-quantum security readiness, trusted RPC development, and the next major network upgrade, which is Glamsterdam, is targeted for the first half of this year. It will include parallel execution research, higher gas limits, enshrined PBS, additional blob scaling, and further progress. Again, we don't need to go into the details. What's important is they have a plan. They have a plan. Scale, making it stronger, making it easier for you to use. This is what we want. So hats off to Ethereum. Big fan. Second largest bag. I think it's about 17% of my portfolio. Now, yes, we're still under $2,000. Yes, we are more than likely, if we do get a $50,000 Bitcoin, we are likely to see maybe a $1,200, $1,400 Ethereum. Maybe. Again, we don't know for sure. Next, and this is the one I have kind of been talking about ever since way before the end of the bull run. SUI has dropped below $1 despite launching of first US staking ETF by Grayscale and Canary. Now, my issue is not with SUI. My issue is with treasuries. I watched a good conversation last night between 3 or 4 people talking about what's going to explode in 2026. If you don't remember, in 2021, going into 2022, we had disaster upon disaster. We had Luna, we had FTX, we had Celsius. Things were imploding everywhere. Things were on fire. It was an absolute disaster. People were getting arrested. It was a mess. We're in February, around about the time that things started going wrong 4 years ago. So we are around about the time that things start to go pop. And they were all discussing what it could be, you know, whether it's leverage, whether it's to do with miners going out of business. They were all picking their different things. Now, the one I've had, and I've had it since last summer, is treasuries. Not Bitcoin treasuries or Ethereum treasuries per se, but SUI, SEI, Avalanche, all of these treasuries. They should never have existed. Now, when some of these SUI treasuries in particular were set up, I think SUI was maybe $4. We are now at 95 cents. So if you invested in this SUI treasury maybe 12 months ago, 8 months ago, your $100 would now be worth what? $20? Maybe $25? So you're not happy. You've lost a fortune by investing in this treasury. Now, yes, the treasury is sitting on cash. They haven't fully deployed to SUI. Maybe they're going to dollar cost average in. Yes. But the point of the matter is, I think treasuries are the ticking time bomb. And I don't think they're going to implode the same way that FTX imploded, by the way, or Luna imploded. I think they're going to implode by shutting down. And I think it's going to be reputational damage to the industry and to SUI. But as I also said last summer, this isn't going to cause Bitcoin to go to $25,000 because it's an alt. People who hold the ETFs are going to look and say, well, I've got my Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, Solana, and XRP ETF. I'm fine. I've never heard of SUI. So it's not going to be as big or as bad as the 2022 crashes of these things. But then again, we had a blow-off top in 2021 and the worst bear market ever in 2022. So we had euphoria and capitulation. We haven't had euphoria this cycle. I don't think these things are going to cause mass capitulation either. SUI going below $1 was probably not on the bingo card of the people that were setting up these treasuries. Same with SEI and other treasuries. It's not something you think about when you set them up because you just look at a chart and it's like, oh, it's going up. You know, people, as I said, people were talking about a $20 SUI. Raoul Pal is one of their ambassadors. So everybody was on board with SUI. Even the people that had come across from different projects. There was people coming across from Hex, promoters from Cardano, all moving across to SUI. Probably because SUI was paying them so well. But we're now seeing a 95 cent SUI. It's not going to end well. Now, these ETFs are going to go live. The thing is, every time we've put an ETF live, the price hasn't gone up. In fact, if you look at the two biggest ones, the price has gone down. So if we did have a January the 30th ETF for SUI, we're probably not going to see it recover till May or June. That's just the time period of how long it takes to recover. We didn't see a massive spike on Solana. We didn't see a massive spike on XRP. So we were never going to see a massive spike on SUI either. Going below $1, though, psychologically, is a bit of a kick in the nuts for me, for the people holding SUI. It's a great chain. It's been built by really clever people. It's now starting to see that there's projects on there like Deep. We covered Deep a year or so ago. We made quite a bit of money out of Deep as well. And So it's a solid project. But again, it needs liquidity. Without liquidity, it ain't going to get anywhere. Without liquidity, the DeFi isn't going to be as good as it is on Ethereum and Solana. So it's still playing catch up. It's probably still a year or two behind being a serious project, a serious blockchain. And I suppose if people hold on, if these treasuries hold on, then it'll be good. Now, in terms of buying Sui, I think between now and October would be a good time to buy Sui. Could it go to 20 cents? Could it go to 30 cents? Absolutely. Could go all the way back to its launch price? Absolutely it can. I am not backing alts right now at this stage. Until we see a bottoming in the market, everything can go lower. We might see a $3 or a $4 link, for example. We might see a $15 hype. We might see a 15-cent Cardano. Again, we don't know how deep this is going to go. Maybe we've bottomed. Maybe we bottom in the summer. Maybe we bottom in October. But at some point this year, we're going to see the recovery, and we're going to end the year in a positive light, I believe. Now then, moving on. Oh, good morning, Mags. I hope you're well. By the way, very quickly, for those of you that are here, this is the stream that we are on right now, as you can see. Hello, everybody. And this is the stream that's coming up in about 2.5 hours' time. I'm going to be streaming about World Liberty Financial again. Why? Because they had their World Liberty Forum on Tuesday and Wednesday, and a couple of really important things came out of it, so we're going to stream that as well later on. So 2 streams today and 2 videos, Mags. So I keep you entertained. I'm your entry into the weekend. Solana stays stuck below $90 as on-chain recovery signals clash with loss selling. Again, just to be very, very open and transparent, I am dollar cost averaging into Solana, and we are doing it at every $10 interval. That is the plan between now and the end of the year. I have a certain number of Solana in my head that I want to target. I'll sell my ears to accumulate as much link as possible if it goes to $3. Listen, I am stacking, but what I have is I've got a very specific way I structure my portfolio, and I've got plenty of link. I'm not saying I can't go and buy more link, but I am well stacked as far as that's concerned. The one thing I don't have is Solana, and the long story is, when I was setting up the portfolio to January 2023, so 3 years ago, Solana was just coming out of the 2022 collapse. The Oracle had bought loads of Solana. I didn't. In fact, I lost a bunch of Solana over that period of time. So when I set up my portfolio, Solana was not included in it, and I didn't buy any at the $10, $20, $30 level. And we didn't really dollar cost average in when it was at $150 because it was a bit too late by then. But now we're coming down again. I want to get back to the number in mind that I had for Solana back then. And that's what I'm going to be doing. So it's not the fact that I think Solana is going to outperform everything else. In my particular situation with my portfolio, Solana, I'm massively underweight. If you look at what I've got for Ethereum and Bitcoin, for example, I'm underweight on Solana and BNB. They're the 2 coins I'm underweight on. And of those 2, I'm even more underweight on Solana than I am on BNB. So that's why I'm buying into my Solana. Now, if I'm starting my portfolio all over again from scratch with nothing, it's going to have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, BNB, and an absolute bag of Chainlink, probably Hype. I have to get on the Hype train at some point, don't I? Probably Hype. I don't. You know what? I think I'm still going to stick with Cardano. I think it's going to come good. I think all of this new stuff that they're doing with Midnight, all of the stuff that they're doing with Bitcoin, it's going to come good. Now, maybe that's a little bit of hopium, but I don't feel like it's hopium. It's not like I'm sitting here saying it's going to go to $10. I think Cardano is going to survive and be a strong blockchain. It's just they're so slow with everything they do. So I'd probably put Cardano in there, and then I would have a bag of like moon bag of alts. World Liberty Financial. People keep calling it a scam. Those people calling it a scam at these prices are going to be shouting from the rooftops when it's at 20 and 30 cents, saying, I told you so. Okay? The tokenomics of World Liberty Financial are strong. I'd also have my bag of Maple because we believe in Maple. I'd probably then look at other things as well. I've told you before about Aster, told you about Pump. Pump is probably the most vilified project in crypto. Everybody hates it. Does it make money? Yes. Dupe. Does it make money? Yes. Aerodrome? Yes. I've said all these 1,000 times. I'm not going to bore people to death. Getting back to the original point, I don't hold enough Solana, and I'm going to dollar cost average in every $10 it drops. So $40, $50, $60, $70. I'm buying Solana. So the spent output profit ratio, Sopra has recently ticked higher for the negative zone. A reading below 1 indicates that investors are selling at a loss. The recent uptick signals that realized losses are beginning to dissipate. Again, I think if we get anywhere back towards $90 or $100, I think a lot of people will go back above the loss line. I don't even know. I think the Oracle's cost price for Solana is about $20. Just going to have to go a lot lower for the Oracle to be in a loss on Solana. Mine is probably more around the $40 or $50 mark. But again, a lot of people were buying at $100, $120, $140 mark. They're looking at an $80 Solana and it's hurting. I get that. But I don't think that Solana... Again, if we'd had this conversation 3 years ago, it would be a different conversation. But we're a maturer market now. I think BNB and Solana and XRP can probably be included in the list of blockchains that are going to be here in 5 years' time. I wouldn't have said that 3 years ago. I'm saying that now. Chainlink will be here in 5 years' time. So think about that as when you're investing in a project. Do you know, with pretty much as much certainty as you can, that they have got the revenue and everything about them to be here for the next 5 years? That's what you got to ask yourself. Can they survive 2 more bear markets? That's what you got to ask yourself. I think Solana is now pushing towards the longevity group of tokens. This output profit ratio, apparently this pattern has only appeared twice in the last 3 months. Each instance was followed by renewed selling pressure. If the Sopra climbs above 1 again, a similar reaction could unfold. That basically means that as soon as people get into profit, they take it and then they run and they sell out of it. Fine. That's exactly what it means. So again, do I think we could see a $70 Solana? Yep. And I will be buying it at $70. However, institutions like Solana, institutional flows provide a contrasting signal. For the week ending Feb 13th, Solana recorded 31 million in inflows. Among major tokens, only XRP saw comparable institutional support. Again, you know what? I've not had or seen this chart that's on your screen now. I haven't seen this in months. It's something that we used to bring up a year ago. And I don't know, Mark, maybe I've unfollowed the person that lists it. But this basically shows the volume of flows. You can see XRP and Solana have got the biggest 2 on there. Chainlink actually has a decent number on there for once. And then you're seeing Ethereum, Bitcoin losing the most. But again, I think XRP and Solana, they're the newest ETFs. They're probably going to see a honeymoon period of flows as well on that side. I'm still long on, well, not long on Solana. I'm still long-term bullish on Solana. Right then, let's move on. Now, your favourite person. He's a little bit like Marmite. If you've never had Marmite and you don't know what I'm talking about, go and look it up. I'm sure whichever country you're in, you will have an equivalent Marmite. It's something that you either love or you hate. And that is Raoul Pal. He's also British, so he would get the Marmite reference there. He said that retail didn't quit crypto. The Robin Hood crowd rotated to AI. Again, not everything we go through on here. I don't agree with everything we go through on here. I'm just basically putting out what his argument is, and then sometimes have my own argument. So he was speaking with Milk Road. He argued that retail investors haven't turned against crypto permanently. Instead, they've temporarily moved capital elsewhere. He described much of crypto retail as the Robin Hood crowd, younger, risk-tolerant investors comfortable with volatility and speculation. Most of the retail participants are high opportunistic, and they rotate towards whatever is outperforming. The recent crypto drawdown pushed some towards gold, silver as well, said Powell. He noted that since 2020, Bitcoin has outperformed gold by 87%, reinforcing his view that crypto acts like a capital black hole during expansion phases. On a lighter note, he said that some retail traders have simply shifted to traditional casinos for speculation, but once crypto resumes strong outperformance, he expects them to return. I kind of agree with the majority of that take, believe it or not. I'm just trying to see if he talks about the AI element, but he doesn't really. He argues the current environment resembles a delayed cycle continuation rather than a full cycle termination. He points to a weak US dollar, stabilizing or declining bond yields, and loosening financial conditions. He added that gold is already responding to looser financial conditions. Now, what I would say about this, very, very simply put, is Powell, we covered this, in fact. Powell said it's not a 4-year cycle, it's a 5-year cycle. And then what's going to happen is we're going to get to the end of 2026, and he's going to say it's a continuation of the 5-year cycle to take us into 2027. And then he's going to say it's a super cycle if it goes on to 2028. And then he's going to claim he's right in 2029. Now, you can say what you want. There are lies, damn lies, and there are statistics. And you can pretty much bend the will of any cycle to what you want. The long and short of it is, and again, you can disagree or you can agree with me. The rule of thumb is, when Bitcoin falls from its all-time high, it comes down to its previous all-time high, and that forms a bottom. Now, I have been saying this 4 years, okay? What was the all-time high that Bitcoin got to in 2021? 69,000 or thereabouts. Where did it come down to? It came down to the $15,000 to $20,000 range. What was the 2017 high? $18,000. So did Bitcoin come down to its previous all-time high? Yes. Where are we right now, today, as you're watching this? $68,200. What was the previous all-time high? 69,000. Now, we are not talking about the precise number. We're talking about the range. So if it wicks a little bit lower, fine. It's not the point. The price is sitting at previous all-time highs. We've done it. We've come down to the previous all-time high. That's what we do in a bear market. Now, the massive problem with this is it should have taken 12 months. We should be at 68,000 in October. It's February the 20th. We've done the entire move in 4 months, not 12. So this is causing a little bit of a quandary for me, because my cycle bottom is 68, 69, 70,000. That's my bottom. We're there. So what do we do for 8 months? Twiddle our thumbs, go up, come down, go up, come down, maybe. Go sideways like we've done before for 6 or 7 months, maybe. But then for Raoul Pal to say, well, it's actually a continuation and we're actually going to move to the upside and it's going to be a 5-year super cycle going into a 6 to 7 year super cycle. You can't just bend the rules to suit your narrative. You told us we were getting a banana zone. Well, guess what? We slipped on that banana and we came straight back down. There was no banana zone. It was a banana slip zone. You then told us it was the M2 money supply. It wasn't that either. So now we've got a 5-year cycle, not a 4-year cycle. And again, as I've said before, I watch Raoul Pal. I like Raoul Pal, but it doesn't mean I have to agree with everything that comes out of his mouth. I don't think we've got a 5-year cycle. We've got a 4-year cycle like we've always had. We've done the entire move a lot quicker than normal. History repeats. History rhymes. It doesn't repeat. Technically, this is the bottom. That's all I'm going to say. This is the bottom. but we can still go lower. So that's the best I've got for you. That is the best I've got for you. Haven't got anything better than that. Now then, Deutsche Bank expands Ripple partnership to modernize global payments, says Denise Grace. We're not going to talk too much about this. We've got 20 minutes left. We're still going to talk about Nilian. We're still going to talk about Hype. Then going to talk a little bit about what's coming up for the rest of the day. But we've still got 20 minutes left, so I'm not going to spend too long talking about a bank. It's really not that exciting. Listen, I've started your weekend talking about stable coins, Raoul Pal and banks. I mean, I know how to have a party. Deutsche Bank is significantly expanding its partnership with Ripple, accelerating its transition towards blockchain-based cross-border settlement systems and reducing reliance on legacy correspondent banking networks such as SWIFT. The move signals a structural shift in how global payments may function in coming years. Now, what you're going to see for the next few years is you're going to see a little bit of a wobble. You're going to see basically some, like Chainlink, are going to implement and integrate with SWIFT. You're going to see others trying to replace it. The problem with replacing SWIFT is it requires all of the banks to get involved. It's a massive undertaking. It's probably going to take 10 years, maybe more, to do that. The easiest solution is this. If you have a roof rack to expand your capacity on your car, you don't get a new car with a built-in roof rack. No, you get a roof rack, you stick it on top of your car, and you bolt it onto the top of your car. So then, all of your suitcases full of very expensive clothes, because you've made billions out of crypto, they all go in the suitcases on the top of your car. What Chainlink are doing is they're taking the 1968 Corvette from America, the 1956 post-Soviet Union, pre-Soviet Union breakup Skoda, and bolting things onto the side of it. And now all of these cars have got roof racks, which means they can all carry the same amount of luggage on the roof. That's what Chainlink are doing. That's what's going to win. The beauty of this is Chainlink are already integrated with XRPL. So what this is the stage after where the banks start to deal directly with Ripple and don't need to go through the roof rack that's bolted on. But both ways will work for you. You should see faster payments in the future. You should see 24/7 payments in the future. You should see your bank say to you, yeah, it's going to cost you €1 to send that transaction, not €15 and take 5 days. So you will win. Okay, all these people that say, oh, there's no real use case for crypto payments. We have digitized payments and money. And the old story, which I keep telling you about, what did Netflix do? What did Amazon do? What did Spotify do? They digitized existing things. They brought them into the internet, didn't they? Music, books, videos, films, all digitized. What's the one thing we never really digitized? Money. Now, when you've got 120 odd countries with 50,000 banks around the world, probably about 15,000 individual banking brands, all running on different systems, getting them onto SWIFT in the first place was brilliant. Why try and reinvent the wheel? So this is, in a very long-winded way and very long-winded explanation, this is the future for the banking industry. Now, this may become Swift XRP. Maybe. This may become something that people use in the future. But this is what is going to happen. Now, on top of this, which I haven't included, and I don't know if you've seen this, the German Chancellor, the German Finance Minister Schwarz came out and said that Europe has to create its own CBDC, its own euro-pegged coin. Otherwise, the dollar is going to dominate. Did anybody see that? Did anybody, for 1 minute in the EU, did anybody for 1 minute stop and say to themselves, you know that the dollar is the Web3 is the dollar. Did anybody think for 1 minute, the 11th man thing again, what happens if Web3 takes over the financial system? Because what we're doing is we are banning EU-denominated stablecoins. we are banning the ability for the likes of Circle and Tether to create EU denominated stablecoins. We're not developing one ourselves. The one we are developing is going to take 10 years. We're going to put limitations on these things and it's going to be a disaster, right? Did anybody in the EU actually sit down at a serious level and say, this is an existential threat to the euro or the pound or, I'm trying to think of some other currencies now, Swiss franc? Did anybody think for 1 minute that if we don't do something to stop this or join the club, the dollar is going to take over? Because if I said to you, the American dollar as part of the global reserve currency used to be 65%, it's now 53%. So it's losing its power as a traditional payment method. But guess what? What percentage of Web3 uses the dollar? 99.99%. So, why did the EU 2, 3, 4 years ago not start the development properly and seriously of a euro pegged stablecoin? Because Ursula, she did nothing but bash it because she's an idiot. She did nothing but bash it. She wants control. You can't really control it. And by the way, for reference, I did say CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency. That's what they want to introduce. Not USDT, USDC, which is not really central bank issued. They're third parties, of course. They're independent companies. So they're going to put a CBDC with all of these rules and regulations. When this goes live, they're going to put this with rules and regulations up against Tether and Circle. Who's going to win? Tether and Circle. Oh yeah, but we're going to ban transactions in these hot wallets. Okay, good luck with that. Good luck with that, because that doesn't work. Yeah, but we're going to force people to do this. That's not going to work either. So you've got the old guard, which is all about control, going up against the free market. And they're so slow that they've lost already. They've lost. I don't see a future where the dollar isn't 95% of the stablecoin market. I don't see that future. Maybe 20, 30 years' time. I don't see it. At this moment in time, America is going to run rings around Europe, the UK, Asia, Africa. It's going to run rings around everybody. And it's going to win. And all this thing about them having $32 trillion in debt is not going to make a jot of difference, because they're going to wrap it up in the stable coins, which are going to float around the world, and no one's ever going to call that debt in. They've shot themselves in the foot by paralysis by analysis. Gone off on a tangent again, but you understand where I'm coming from. Hacked VC-backed Nilian to shut down its chain on Cosmos and shift focus to Ethereum. Said this 1,000 times. I'll say it again. We are going to see, in every expansion of any market, there is contraction. We saw it in the internet. The dawn of the internet, there were 20,000 companies doing a certain product. And then when the internet blew up, there wasn't enough money to sustain them all. It came back down to about 300 or 400. In crypto, 95% of the top 10,000 cryptocurrencies will not exist in 5 to 10 years' time. The ones that do exist are either profitable or big enough to survive, or ones that do stuff like this. We've mentioned Helium. It had its own blockchain, didn't work. It pivoted. It became a Solana-based project. Perfect. Great idea. If you've got a project that's running on a chain that isn't used, you've got two choices. You move chain or you die. If I had a project today that was running on, say, or Celestia, or even Sonic has been such a disappointment. I had such high hopes for Sonic. But if I had a project running on Sonic, I would move it to Solana. And I would shout it from the rooftops. Move it to Solana, and your users, the majority of your users anyway, will probably follow you. And if they're not, it doesn't matter, because it's a big enough chain to garner way more users than you can have on Celestia. So is this a right move for Nilian? 1,000% the right move for them to do. Now, they are going to move to Ethereum. The migration comes just months after Cosmos announced it's stepping back from efforts to turn the Cosmos Hub into a smart contract platform as TVL declines. I think Cosmos Cosmos should have worked. I blame the management of Cosmos for it failing. I blame the management for allowing 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 blockchains to exist that were all pretty much the same. I think Cosmos was a fantastic idea. And if you look at, here's an example, if you look at Ethereum and you look at the stablecoin layer 2s, you look at the OP stack, you look at all of these different things, that really was plug and play bespoke blockchains. Cosmos maybe Cosmos was too early. That's another way of looking at it. Maybe if Cosmos came out today, you'd have the stablecoin blockchains. Maybe they would set up on Cosmos as well. But here we go. So in an announcement on February the 17th, the team said the network will halt operations on the 23rd of March, urging holders of the NIL token to migrate to Ethereum before shutdown. NIL chain was designed as a network for secure computation, but the chain has seemingly not been able to reach broad usage inside the Cosmos ecosystem. I remember this being hacked. We covered it on here. I can't remember how much it was hacked for. Oh, there we go. I'll probably mention it down here. Anyway, so it's moving. I think it's the right move. It's a great thing for the project, for the longevity of the project, to move to Solana or move to Ethereum. That's one of the two moves that you should have done. So the move comes as Cosmos is reassessing its direction in July. It scrapped plans to add smart contract support, high costs and weak developer demand. They'd also plan to deploy apps on the hub, were encouraged to build on other Cosmos-based chains instead. Again, I think the issue is Cosmos should have worked. And again, it was the right project with potentially the wrong team and the wrong time. That's how I would say it, because you need right place, right time. I think it was the right place. It's just the wrong time and the wrong team, in my opinion. Now then, moving on very quickly to, we're going to have a little talk about. Hang on a second. Oh, you know what I've done? I have pasted the same article twice. Let me go and find it then. This is about hype. I'm sure I'm going to find this in the news section, because this was quite interesting. I saw this yesterday and I'm like, here we go. This is a different website. No, I don't like that one. Let's go look at this one instead. The Defiant are normally quite a nice laid out website. So, how do you win in America? You win with a lobby group. How did Trump win his election? Partly down to the fact that Democrats were terrible, but also partly down to the fact that the war chest, a lot of the war chest that he had came from the crypto industry. The Winklevoss brothers, you had the likes of, can't say real names, a lot of different crypto exchanges put money into the war chest for Trump to win the election. And when he said promises made, promises kept, I think he was talking to the people that backed him. I don't think he was necessarily talking to you. I think he was talking to the teams that were putting money in. And they were the lobby. They were the various different lobbyists. Now, this is, again, took me by surprise. Didn't expect this. But they have found a new DC, or they've backed a new DC lobby with 1 million hype for clearer DeFi rules. Now, again, not something I expected from Hyper. Now, what Hyperliquid have done, which I suppose the easiest way to describe it is they keep surprising me. Most things in crypto are not very surprising. They're pretty straightforward. They're either telegraphed or it's obvious it's going to happen. You know, we talk about bashing Vitalik because he's got no direction. He then spends 12 to 18 months putting direction into the company. It had to happen. It did happen. There's no surprise there. But Hype keeps surprising me with what they do. Whether it's to do with the tokenomics, whether it's to do with how they deal with the team, whether it's to do with the way they set up their layer one, whether it's to do with stuff like this, they surprise me. And that's a refreshing change. Most of the stuff we cover on here, we kind of know it was going to happen. I'm just kind of giving you my opinion on it. You know, Raoul Pal coming out with another reason why he's right. It's pretty obvious. You know, Willy Woo always being wrong. Not Willy Woo. Rich Dad Poor Dad always being wrong. They're obvious things. It's kind of like monkey dances over there. We talk about the monkey, right? Hyperliquid are doing things differently. So, with Jake Shavinsky at the helm, the Hyperliquid Policy Center gives the PerpDex a formal policy foothold in Washington. And again, these people aren't pushing for anything clandestine. They want rules. They want rules to play by. They play by the rules, everybody wins. They're regulated, everybody wins. They get institutions coming on board, everybody wins. Remember, if there is no policy, if there are no laws, if there is no real regulation going on, Hyperliquid doesn't get institutions on board. Now think about that. Hyperliquid sit around a table and say, how do we get the real money to come and play? We need policies, regulations and rules. How do we do that? We create or we join a lobby to push for it. It's clear as day, the strategy. It's not clear as day that they were going to do it. So I'm very, very impressed by this. They are the largest on-chain perps futures exchange by trading volumes. They are talking about trying to get to $1 trillion a day in volume. That's their goal. And they're a long way from that, but it doesn't really matter. It's still a really solid target. They're going to give them 1 million hype tokens worth around $29 million at this price as they try to influence US rules for decentralized finance. According to the press release, the so-called Hyperliquid Policy Center, or HPC, received the tokens and plans to use them to produce research and lobby for practical regulations on decentralized markets. The foundation is an independent organization that supports the development of the Hyperliquid ecosystem. Per the release, we will publish technical research, comments on proposed rules and legislation, and serve as a resource for policymakers who want to understand how DeFi really works. Jack Shavinsky, a long-standing crypto policy lawyer and former chief policy officer at the Blockchain Association, will lead the organization as the CEO. Brilliant, this. The Policy Center will also introduce lawmakers and regulators to Hyperliquid and push for clearer rules. Now, I don't care about the price being down. It's absolutely irrelevant. This is massive for DeFi, massive for crypto. I would go so far as to say this. Because they're doing this, I would actually be more inclined to buy some hype tokens, because it's one of those things of, you know, you obviously want to make money in crypto. You want to buy tokens that go up in price. But, I don't know, $500 or $1,000 of hype token because they're doing this. It's the same reason I kind of backed Ripple and XRP. As much as I think it's going to be a protocol of the future, it's going to form part of the future financial system. Brad is slimy. Yes, Brad is also quite funny. But Brad fought the law and won. He took the SEC to court and beat them twice. He beat them on the initial offering and he beat them on the secondary market. He won. Now, he didn't just win for XRP and Ripple. He won for crypto. And for that, no matter what he does, and no matter what kind of snake oil process he tries to sell to the administration, I have to take my hat off to him, because he put up and they shut up. And I think anything that does that warrants a little bit of support from the community. So I will probably buy some hype tokens if it goes to about $22, $25, something like that. Listen, if it goes to $15, load up. But I think this is brilliant for the industry, that you've now got a DeFi voice, not just an XRP voice or Cardano voice or a Bitcoin voice or whatever, or even an Ethereum voice. We've now got a voice for DeFi, and I wholeheartedly support that. I think that's a brilliant thing. Now, as I have said, let me go back in here. As I have said, this is the second stream of the day. So I am streaming now. I'm going to end my stream very soon, and then in 2 hours' time, we are going to be doing the World Liberty Forum recap, and two very important things that we're going to be pulling out of this. Number one, tokenization excuse me, of real-world assets. Number two, tokenization of financial assets. They're the two big things that came out of that forum. Forget Nicki Minaj. Forget various certain people with bald heads talking. That was great to have there. It was a who's who of who. It was a, how did I describe it a few weeks ago? It's a who's who of who's who. and everybody was there. So it deserves another stream. I'm going to do that in 2 hours' time. So that's coming up today. Now, tomorrow, we will have, hopefully the Oracle is back. He is streaming at a different time. He is going to stream at 2 p.m. Central European time, which is 1 p.m. UTC. He's streaming at that time because we have tried to garner audiences across different crypto channels. And some places are harder than others. And certain places, which will remain nameless, are making it harder and harder for crypto to get a foothold as an industry, if you like. Now, clearly, we are put in the same brackets as the shillers, and we're put in the same brackets as the pump and dumpers. They don't really know us from anybody else, but we get the same treatment as they do. So we're moving to 2 p.m. and we'll probably be doing Monday, Thursday, and Saturday at 2 p.m. So there'll be no late night streams. But what it does mean is if we do need to do a late night stream, it doesn't impact his streams. So the Crypto Trading Show is now going to be about 2 o'clock p.m. Central European. I'm going to be streaming at 11. Now, I did Monday, Tuesday, and Friday this week. 2 today, actually. He does Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. So the Wednesdays, which are currently absolutely free, we're probably going to use them either as a special show. So the quiz nights, for example, we did the quiz night wherever it was down here. We did the quiz night on Wednesday. So we're going to try and keep Wednesdays fairly free to be able to do anything different. That's what I would say on that. Now, let's go back. Where are you? 12:02. Let's go back over here. Right, so I'm going to get off now. I've had a very long 5.5 hours today so far, so I'm probably going to have a rest for a little bit. I've got a video to edit about Wolfies, and then I'm going to probably set up the stream about 1 o'clock to go live with World Liberty Finance. So thank you, everybody that's come along. Mags, Frog, Danny, Hidden, and Kishan, thank you all for coming. And I will see you in 2 hours' time if you've got the time. If you haven't, have a great weekend. And I will see you all on Monday. Take care.